mengembangkan semangat kepemimpinan dan manajerial di dalam kegiatan organisasi. Yang kelima adalah mendorong kerjasama secara nasional dan internasional untuk menunjang kegiatan-kegiatan pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengabdian pada masyarakat. Yang keenam atau yang terakhir adalah memfasilitasi terintegrasinya semua kegiatan pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengembangan pengabdian pada masyarakat dengan Islam dan kemuhammadiyahan.
Menarik yang membuat saya memilih Fakultas Kedokteran UHAMKA adalah walaupun UHAMKA baru memiliki Fakultas Kedokteran, namun Fakultas Kedokteran di sini sudah memiliki fasilitas yang memadai seperti lab. Labnya itu terdiri dari lab anatomi, lab fisiologi, lab patologi anatomi, dan juga
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you so much for your attendance in our webinar entitled How to Write and Edit and Research Manuscript. I am the host of this webinar. My name is Rizkiana Afisa. By saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, let us start this webinar. First of all, I would like to greet the Dean of Medical Faculty Universitas Muhammadiyah Profesor Dr. UHAMKA, Dr. Wawang S. Sukarya, Obstetric and Gynecology Specialist, Magister of Hospital Administration and Health Law, and all academic community of UHAMKA, especially the faculty member of Faculty of Medicine. And of course, please accept a warm greeting from me to all of participants that join us today. We are honored to have Professor Thomas Meyers, an associate professor from University of Tsukuba, Japan, to give a special lecture about how to write and edit a research manuscript. Because we all know that a good research by a good researcher without any good publication is nothing. And now, Professor Thomas Meyers has already joined us today in this room. Good afternoon, Professor Thomas. It's glad to have you here today. But before we start the lecture, I would like to invite you all participants, to listen to the national anthem of Republic of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start to the main lecture session, let us hear the opening speech from the Dean of Medical Faculty of UHAMKA, Dr. Wawang. Dr. Wawang, the time is yours.
Terima kasih kepada Ibu Rizkyana. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues in all the places in Indonesia. Saya sangat bergembira. Let me talk in Indonesia in bahasa. Saya sangat bergembira bahwa pada hari ini kita masih bertemu dalam keadaan sehat walafiat untuk membicarakan suatu topik yang sangat penting, yaitu bagaimana how to write and edit research manuscript. Saya kira itu adalah hal yang penting untuk seluruh dosen, seluruh ilmuwan dalam menjalankan profesinya sebagai dosen dan sebagainya. Pada hari ini memang kita spesial mengundang hanya satu pembicara, yaitu Profesor Thomas Meyer dari Sukma University. Thank you, Profesor Thomas Meyer, for joining us to speak about how to write and edit medical manuscript research. I think this is the second time we invite you. Thank you very much for the time. And special thanks I deliver to the Honorable Speaker Thomas Meyer. Thank you for your participation and accepting our invitation to the event. Saya kira mudah-mudahan saya tidak akan panjang lebar, karena silakan nanti saudara-saudara mengikuti paparan sangat menarik. Kalau untuk saya, Profesor Thomas Meyer ini sangat menarik kalau memaparkan sesuatu. I said that you are is very interesting person, how to speak and how to explain the lecture. Thank you very much, Profesor Meyer. Terima kasih. Mari kita sama-sama memulai acara ini dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Saya buka acara ini dengan resmi. Silakan Ibu Rizkyana, saya kembalikan.
Thank you, Dr. Wawang. Now we are going to start the lecture, but before it, I would like to inform you and invite you all to send your manuscript to our journal, SMJ, Sanus Medical Journal. This journal is owned by Faculty of Medicine, UHAMKA. SMJ is a journal that publishes descriptive, analytical, experimental studies, reviews, letters in the field of medicine, health, medical and health education, and Islamic medicine. SMJ is published twice a year, every 6 months in February and August. All right, without any further delay, I would like to introduce you to our moderator, Dr. Zahra Nurosofa. She is an anatomical pathology specialist. Dr. Zahra was born on 7 February 1987. She got medical doctor degree in 2011 from University of Lampung, and an anatomical pathologist degree in 2018 from Pajajaran University. Dr. Zahra will guide our lecture session as well as the question and answer session. Dr. Zahra, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizkyana. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Person, Prof. Thomas Meyer, and all the participants. First, I will read the agenda for today. The first session is lecture, the main lecture from Prof. Thomas. It will held until 3:25 minutes. Then after that, we will having a Q&A session. Now, I will like to read CV of Professor Thomas. Professor Thomas was assistant professor in University of Tsukuba, Japan, Faculty of Medicine, Medical English Communication Center. He graduated as Bachelor of Art with honor degree, Fine Art, University of Leeds, UK in 1999, and graduated as Master of Art, distinction degree in Theology and Religious Study at York St. John University, York, United Kingdom in 2006. He was assistant professor since January 2014 in University of Tsukuba, Faculty of Medicine, Medical English Communication Center. He has so much awesome international publication in indexed journal. Because the limitation of the time, I will only read one of his latest masterpiece that was publication in Q1 Scopus Index Journal in 2019 with the entitled International Review of End-of-Life Care Guidelines with focus on the withholding and withdrawing of artificial nutrition and hydration. Ladies and gentlemen, now I would like to invite Professor Thomas to present it. For Professor Thomas, the time is yours.
Hey, hello everyone. I would like to say thank you so much to Dr. Wang and all of the organizers for this lecture today. I'm so happy to be with you. It's my great privilege. I hope that what I talk about today will be useful for you and helpful. Many of us struggle every day to write and to do our research and to publish. It's become such an important part of what we have to do as people in academia. So I hope that this information is useful to you. So I will be sharing to you today the lecture. But please don't worry about copying the slides. I have provided a PDF file of the slides, so you don't have to copy the information. But if there's any extra information that you want to take notes about, please feel free to do so. Also, there will be a question and answer session after my lecture. So if you have any good questions or any questions, please make a note of them and you can ask me at the end of the lecture. But I'm going to begin today by just sharing a little bit about the University of Tsukuba, if that's okay. So let me share my screen with you. Can you see my screen? No?
Not yet.
Oh.
Something happened?
Zoom. Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay now.
Okay. Okay, so I'm from the University of Tsukuba. It's not scuba like diving, but scuba with a T. And our slogan is Imagine the Future. So where is Tsukuba? Well, I'm sure you guys all know Tokyo. Well, we're very close to Tokyo. If you go to Akihabara and you get on the train called the Tsukuba Express train, it takes only 45 minutes to arrive in the city of Tsukuba. And you can see Tsukuba is a very modern, green city with lots of trees and spacious roads. And in the background there, you can see Mount Tsukuba, which is one of the beautiful landmarks. You can also see a rocket in the foreground because Tsukuba is known as Tsukuba Science City. So Tsukuba Science City has more than 50 national research institutes and more than 200 private research institutes. So some of these companies, these institutes you may have heard of: Space Agency, Material Science, Advanced Technology, so many different research institutes. So the population of this city is about 200,000, and foreign residents are about 7,500, which for Japan is a very high proportion of Japanese to non-Japanese residents. This is an aerial view of the city of Tsukuba, and the red area marks our campus. So you can actually see it's a very, very big area. In fact, it's the second largest campus in Japan. And you can enjoy the beautiful scenery around Mount Tsukuba and the campus. Japan has 4 distinct seasons, so you can enjoy the winter, the summer, and the beautiful cherry blossoms in spring. So the university has 9 undergraduate schools, 8 graduate schools, and 1 integrated school. I work in the medicine and medical sciences school, undergraduate school, and also in the graduate school, I work for the Comprehensive Human Sciences School. We currently have a total of 20,000, 21,000 people on campus. And of the students, our student body, about 2,500 are students from overseas and from 110 countries. And I'm very happy to say that from Southeast Asia, Indonesian students have the largest student body. And we love our Indonesian students. You guys are so good. So this is the University of Tsukuba Hospital. I work in the medical area, and this is the hospital. Let me just quickly focus upon our School of Medicine and Medical Sciences. The undergraduate programs, we have a School of Medicine, which is 6 years, School of Nursing, 4 years, and a School of Medical Science, which is also 4 years. We do not have a School of Dentistry or Pharmacy. Although the School of Medical Sciences does cover pharmaceutical areas. And in our graduate school of Comprehensive Human Sciences, we offer a master's program in medical science, master's program in nursing science, a doctoral program in human care science, doctoral program in biomedical science, doctoral program in nursing science, and also doctoral program in clinical science. So if you have completed, for example, an MD, and you would like to do some further study, you can join a doctoral program in clinical science or a doctoral program in biomedical science. Likewise, if you are a qualified nurse, you can come and study, for example, a master's degree in nursing science, Ph.D. in nursing science. And the doctoral program in human care science is actually something that's available to people from a number of different backgrounds, maybe public health, nursing, maybe administration, education. So we have a good range of courses available. So I thought it might be interesting for you to watch a video made by one of my students, former students, introducing her life in scuba. So let me play this video.
Hi, my name is Rani. I come from Indonesia and graduated from University Institute of Culture, Belajar University. I love Japan. All things in here are captivating and made me comfort. The season, fresh air, friendly people, and cultural heritage made me fall in love every day. Moreover, in Japan, especially Tsukuba, is a Muslim-friendly city. We can easily find halal products, restaurants, and Islamic community in here. I'm very grateful to be accepted as one of scholarship student in this university. Studying overseas is challenging, but worth it because you can gain valuable experience. So fulfill your dreams and make it happen. We shall go together. Open your mind. Make a world that changes us all.
Okay. So I hope you enjoyed that video. It maybe gave you a good insight into student life in our university. And if any of you are interested, please feel free to send me an email, and I'd be happy to give you some more information about our university. There are scholarships available for studying provided through the Japanese government. And so, yeah, let me know. Okay, so let's get into today's lecture, how to write and edit a research manuscript. Well, part of my job at the university is editing. I spend a lot of my time editing. The doctors, the nurses, the researchers here at the university, they often ask for my help to publish their papers. Every year, I help to publish about 40 manuscripts in international journals, and big journals too, the Lancet, BGM and Nature, Science. And so I spend a long time reading and writing and editing research manuscripts. So let me begin with a question. What is the most difficult part of writing a scientific paper for you? Does anybody have, would anybody like to contribute at this time? Could somebody share if there's something difficult for you? Please feel free to unmute your microphone and share your feelings.
Start. Start.
Hello.
Yeah, to start. To start. How to start.
How to start?
Yeah, that's very important. I think.
Okay, how to start? Yeah. Thank you very much. Are there any other answers? Don't be shy.
It's in the chat room from Mrs. Nani Sari Murni.
From Nani Sari Murni, write background and show the novelty.
The background and showing the novelty. Yes, very good. Anyone else?
From Ira Wahyuni, how to define the title.
How to define the
Title.
title. Okay, yeah, the title. Okay, well, hopefully, as I give my presentation today, I will answer some of these questions, and I will try to address them as I go through this presentation. Okay, well, here is my advice. We need to be organized. Have a look at these two closets. One of them, the clothes are everywhere, right? One of them is nice and neat. Everything is put away nicely. Organization is very, very important. Maybe some of you have a closet like this at home, the messy one. Maybe some of you have a very messy desk as well in front of you right now. But maybe some of you are very organized. I think organization is one of the key points to becoming a good, efficient writer. We need to organize a number of things. The first thing is to organize your time. This is perhaps the most important tip from today's lecture. Try to put time aside every day for writing and reading. We need to learn to prioritize writing. We often prioritize things that are not so important, things like checking our Facebook or Twitter or sending emails or watching our favorite shows on YouTube. But it's really important that we put aside time every day for reading and writing. Especially don't answer emails. You know, I have this problem. I arrive at work in the morning and I open my email and I start answering emails, and then I find that half of my morning is gone or half of my day is gone. So try to be efficient and structured with your time. Organize your time. Try to do some every day, even if it's just 30 minutes or 1 hour. Try to make a block of time in your schedule every day to write. Next, we need to organize our space. Find somewhere nice to work and lock the door. My friend even puts a sign on his door saying, "Do not disturb." Try to make a space that is quiet, somewhere that you can concentrate, somewhere you know that you feel comfortable to do your research. Switch off your iPhones, switch off all of your devices. Try not to get distracted. Try to focus your mind. And having a good place to work will help you to write and research. The next is to organize your reading and your research. I highly recommend using a reference management software, something like Mendeley or EndNote. So Mendeley is a free software that I've been using for a long time now to organize my software, to organize my reading. It helps me to categorize my PDFs, and especially it helps me when I'm writing to very quickly insert a formatted reference to the target journal. So I highly recommend organizing your reading and your research. You know, these days when you're starting to read on a particular subject, you might go on to PubMed or another website to try and find appropriate papers, and you download the PDF onto your computer. So your organization should begin there. When you download your PDF, make sure that you title the PDF in a way so you can recognize what it is. Maybe you could use a keyword from the title, the author, publication date, and you should put that into a folder in your computer, very clearly marked, and then put that folder, link that folder to your Mendeley or EndNote. There are obviously other softwares available. I just pulled these two as being very popular options. Okay, next, you need to organize your writing. You need to have logical sentences, logical paragraphs, and logical structure. Today, I'm not really going to talk about writing at the sentence level, but I will begin by talking about logical paragraphs and paragraph structure. So a paragraph should have a topic sentence. It should also have supporting sentences and a concluding sentence. I'd like you to think of the image of a burger, a hamburger, with the top of the burger and the bottom of the burger being the bread, the concluding sentence and the topic sentence, the bread. And the supporting sentences are the bits in between, the juicy parts, the meat, the cheese, tomatoes, whatever you like in your burger. Try to keep this image in your mind. Let's begin. A topic sentence should feature in every paragraph. It's usually the first or the second sentence of a paragraph, and it should introduce the topic or the main idea of the paragraph. For example, if I was talking about my city, Tsukuba, I might write something like this. Tsukuba City in Ibaraki, Japan, is famous for some interesting features. As a topic sentence, you know that I'm going to be talking about Tsukuba, and probably you know that I am going to talk about the interesting features. So in the supporting sentence, I'm going to give some details to support my topic sentence. So, Tsukuba City in Ibaraki, Japan is famous for some interesting features. First, it is known as the Science City because it is home to over 300 national and private research institutes. Second, Tsukuba also has some beautiful sightseeing spots, such as Mount Tsukuba and Kasumigaura Lake, the second largest lake in Japan. So here you can see I've listed a number of those interesting features. This is the meat of my paragraph. My concluding sentence brings the paragraph to a neat, logical conclusion. These are some of the interesting features that make Tsukuba Science City a great place to live. Okay? So if I put that entire paragraph like this, display it like this, you can see the topic sentence and the concluding sentence with the supporting sentences in the middle. So remember, these three parts of the burger are like this. And notice particularly, I want you to see how the concluding sentence and the topic sentence share some great similarities. They both contain the word scuba city, and they both contain the words interesting features. They're kind of like a mirror. They are sort of parallel to each other. And that's what makes the paragraph as a reader very satisfying. We know when it begins and we know when it ends. It also makes the paragraph delicious, just like a burger. You know, you need these three parts to make a burger delicious. If I take away the topic sentence, for example, or the concluding sentence, a burger becomes very difficult to eat. And if I take away the middle part, the burger just becomes bread and it's not very delicious. So these three parts are essential to help us to write a good, strong paragraph. So understanding that in English, paragraphs have a fixed structure will actually help to make your writing better. So next time you write a paragraph, try to think about these hamburgers, these three different parts: topic, supporting, and concluding sentences. Okay, so next, an important part of writing, just as with presentations, is the use of signposts. Signposts in life help us to get from one place to another. And it's the same with writing. In writing, signposts show the reader the organization of your writing. So here are some different signposts. So number one is an indent. Indents are used to show the start of a new paragraph. You should press your tab key. Do not add the space bars. Also, number two, empty lines between paragraphs separates one from the other. Sequence words. Sequence words like first, second, finally, third, lastly, to begin with, next, then, after that. They show the sequence. I apologize, my boxes are a little bit out of alignment here. So, but you can see there are three main reasons why Canada is one of the best countries in the world. First, Canada has excellent healthcare system. Second, Canada has a high standard. Finally, Canada's cities are, etc., etc. So these are very helpful for your reader to show them the way through your writing. Number four is giving example signposts. These very simply show the reader that you're going to give an example. Words like, for example, for instance, to give an example. Counter-example signposts show that you're going to give an example that casts doubt or contradicts previous example or idea. So these are words like however, although, on the other hand, conversely, in contrast, challenged, nevertheless. Number six are supporting example signposts. These show that you're going to give an example that supports a previous example or idea. So words like in support of this, also, in agreement with this, another, agrees with, both, likewise, in addition. And number seven is concluding signposts. These show that you're at the last paragraph of your essay. So words like in conclusion, finally, to summarize, in summary. So these are examples of signposts that are very helpful to organize your writing. It helps you and it helps the reader especially. So you remember the burger, right? Well, the burger is actually very useful, not only when we structure a paragraph, but also when we put those paragraphs together into the structure of an essay. You know, an essay, a research paper kind of has a fixed structure. It has an introduction, has a method section, has a results section, discussion section, and a conclusion. This is what's known as IMRAD. So scientific writing has this fixed structure. So when Dr. Wawang said about how to start an essay or how to start writing, actually the writing process can be made easier to start by knowing that there's a fixed structure, a fixed template. You can begin by simply writing introduction, methods, results, discussion, and then beginning to fill in the parts. So I'd like to talk about now the different things that you should cover in these different sections. So this is quite wordy. I apologize, but again, you will be getting a PDF of this, so you don't have to write it down. But your introduction section should cover these questions. What is the topic? Why is it important? What is known about the topic? What is unknown about the topic? What is your hypothesis or research question? So one of the commentators said that the background and showing the novelty can be quite difficult in a research paper. So to show your novelty is really to highlight these questions. What is known about the topic? But what is unknown? If you can find a question that is unanswered, that is your novelty. So these are generally the things that your introduction should cover. This is kind of standard about writing. I think a lot of people forget this second point. Why is it important? I think it's really helpful, whether you're giving a presentation or writing a paper, to state the importance of your writing. Don't take it for granted that somebody who's reading your paper will know why they should read it. They need to know, you need to tell them why your research is important. Okay, the method section. Your method section should describe the study design. Is it descriptive, correlational, experimental, meta-analytical, etc., etc.? There's many different study designs. You should describe your sample. Who are you looking at, or what are you looking at? Should talk about the data collection, the materials that you use, and also the procedure. And also the data analysis method. What data was analyzed and what tests were used for the analysis. What software did you use, etc. And also, don't forget to talk about ethical considerations. That should be done in the methods section. If you're working with humans or animals, you need to probably get ethical approval. So you need to state that here in the methods section. In the results section, the results should be simple and clear. your results should present summaries of large data sets. Don't try to include large data sets in the text. Put those data into tables or figures. Don't just list them in the text. And you shouldn't really sort of overlap the data that you give. You know, so you might pull out sort of key important data figures, but you don't need to list the entire data in the text of your essay and also present it in a table or figure form. You should just use one or another. But I highly recommend in your results just presenting the summaries and pulling out key data points. So only give data which is relevant to the paper as well. This can be hard, right? You might have done a lot of experiments. Some might have been good, some bad, but you don't need to present everything. So you might have to go through your research and select the most appropriate parts to go into your paper. And this is also important. Include negative results. Negative results have a sort of a bad reputation, but actually they're very, very important. If you try something and it doesn't work, that's still reportable, I think. It shows how not to do something. And it also saves people from also making the same mistake. So don't be afraid to include negative results in your paper. That will show a lot of academic integrity as well. If the reviewers ask you to take it out, that's fine. You can take it out, but don't be afraid to show. And finally, in the discussion and conclusion section, you should describe how the reader should interpret your results. What do your results mean? You should ask the question, do your results support your hypothesis? Remember, in your introduction, you state a hypothesis. After you've done your experiment, collected your data, do your results support your hypothesis? Yes or no? And what are the implications of your findings? What does it mean? How will it help others? Or what does this mean for your field? Don't forget also to show how the knowledge fits in with the findings of other researchers. You should refer to pertinent, important papers in your field. Seminal works, that's works of established research from the past, or the most up-to-date research on that topic is usually what people try to address in the discussion and conclusion section. Well, it would be in the discussion section. You should also talk about the limitations of your study. Don't be afraid to show limitations. If you don't, the reviewer will probably be quite suspect about your paper. And every paper has limitations. Yeah, it's usually sample size is quite small, or there might be confounding factors. But yeah, be honest. This is something that I think is always exciting to include in a research paper or a presentation. And that's showing the reader what you plan to do next, or what is the next step for this research. Often this can be combined with the limitations. For example, you might say, one limitation to this study was the small number of participants. In the future, larger scale research, including more participants from a greater range of ethnic minorities, might be useful to conclude the findings of this study, for example. Okay, I'm going to move on now and give you some general tips on writing. This is a good tip. Read examples of papers in your field published in your target journal. I cannot stress that enough, your target journal. If you want to publish in Nature, you should be reading articles published in Nature in your field. If you want to publish in the New England Journal of Medicine, you need to be reading papers in that journal published. It kind of makes sense. It shows you what the editors, what the reviewers are looking for. It shows you the style of the writing, the kind of language that's used, the level of language that's used. You can also look for the details within the writing, how, for example, how p-values are written. Are they written uppercase, lowercase, italicized? All of these small details can help you to get published in a journal. But reading is so important. If you want to be a good writer, you should read. Read as much as you can. My next tip is to say, begin writing early on. Don't wait until you finished your research. You know, many people think that the process goes, I make a plan, I do the research, I get the results, and then I write. Well, you don't have to do that. You don't have to wait until you've finished. You can write your plan, your introduction, your background, even before you do your experiment. It's possible. You can write your methods section while you are doing your experimentation. So you can begin writing early on. The earlier sometimes the better. Maybe what you write you completely change in the future, but it can be better than staring at a blank screen. Again, beginning the writing process can be difficult. Beginning with a blank screen can be very difficult. Even myself, when I first started writing, I would spend a long time trying to get the first sentence perfect. That's not the way to go about it. The best way to go about it is just to write as much as possible and then go back and edit it. Some researchers like to write the results first. So if you have your results, if you've done your experiment, this is often a great place to start. You write your results. And as you're going through the writing process, that can then help you to interpret the results. That will help you to write your discussion. It will also help you to write your introduction. So some researchers like to write the results first or early on. My next tip is to depend on your colleagues to help you with the reviewing, editing of your manuscript. I always do this, even though I'm a native speaker of English, even though I spend a long time editing, reading, and writing papers, I still have to ask my friend for help. Maybe you've experienced it, but when you've looked at some text, your paper, over and over again, you actually lose the ability to read it properly, and you kind of skip over sections, and you can miss important mistakes, spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes. So do ask your friends to help you and give advice. All right, so let's imagine you have written a first draft of your scientific paper. What should you do next? What's the next step? Should you submit it to a journal? Send it for an English check? Some people do that. Well, I'd like to recommend this process, self-edit. I'd like you to learn the skill of editing your own manuscript. I'm going to draw upon my experience as an editor just to show you a sort of a good way to edit a manuscript. Step one is what I call a quick format. Now, the screenshot here you're looking at is actually Microsoft Word for the Apple computer. So it might look a little bit different to your version, but all of the elements are the same. So quick format. Select all the text and make sure that you use a text, a font that is easier to read. I always choose Times New Roman because that's the font that works best for me when I read a paper. Now, if you've written your initial manuscript using a different font, it's good to change fonts. Changing fonts will help you to maybe spot some mistakes. It can look like a completely different paper. But if you're going to submit to a manuscript, usually Times New Roman is a good option. 12-point font is, again, usually the requirement of most journals, between 10.5 and 12. Also, you should be left justified, not fully justified like this. This will help you to see problems with spacing. You know, it's very easy to get double or triple spaces between words and sentences. So using left justify will help you to find some small mistakes. Use double spacing. Most journals require you to submit with a double-spaced manuscript. But this is also helpful for you because it makes it easier to read. So yeah, choose the 2.0. Also, margins are important. Most journals require that you use a normal margin, which is about 2.5 centimeters all the way around. Do not use narrow margins or over wide margins. Try to use normal size margins. If the journal is very specific, you can use the custom margins option here to get them exact to the journal specification. Try to, step two is what I call view. Try to make sure that it's easy on your eyes. So make it as big as possible so it fills your screen. I usually work around about 200% on my laptop. Also, use the track changes function. Even though you're editing your own writing, remember this is a self-edit, use track changes. It helps you to see which bits you've changed. You can accept them at the end of it if you're happy with them. But I really recommend using track changes even for your own edits. So, track changes there. This is one of my favorite little buttons. This is called the Show All Non-Printing Characters button. Please look for this symbol on Microsoft Word next time you use it. This is very helpful. I always switch it on. Show all non-printing characters helps you see spaces. So you can see this tiny dot here indicates where there is a space between the word. So if there is accidentally 2 spaces in between your words, you can see 2 dots. It also shows you enter marks. You can see if there are any enters in the wrong place. And it also shows you the tab mark, which is shown as an arrow like this. I always recommend step 3, run the spell check. So misspelled words and unknown words are underlined in red. So for example, this word here, cases, should be cases with a C. However, the word peristernal is correct, but it doesn't exist in my dictionary. In which case, if I do a right click, I can find, or left click, I'm not sure with Windows, you can actually select this word and you can add it to your dictionary. I recommend doing that. Don't just ignore the words. Add them to your medical dictionary. It will really help you in the future. But we have to be careful. Beware of homonyms. Homonyms are words that are spelt different but have the same pronunciation. And here are some. 2, 2, and 2, male, male, there, there, base, base, here, here, die, die, jeans, jeans, right, right. You know, your spell check might not find the problem because they're spelled correctly, but they're the wrong word. So be careful about these ones. Your grammar check might actually pick these up. So grammatical mistakes in Microsoft Word are usually underlined in green, like this. And when you find a problem, you can, again, left or right click, I'm not sure which, on that sentence, and it will give you perhaps 1 or 2 alternatives to choose from. And you can select that, or if it is correct, you can click ignore. So yeah, running the grammar check in your computer, it doesn't take very long to do, and it might help you find some small mistakes. And these days, there are tools like Grammarly that can really help you to write better. Grammarly is very useful, and the AI is getting really quite good. So yeah, don't be afraid to use Grammarly to improve your writing. Step 5 is what I call a deep format. This would be using tabs to indicate new paragraph and not spaces. Make sure that there's only 1 space after a punctuation mark. There shouldn't be 2, as here. And also no space before punctuation mark, like this word here. Can you see? It's underlined in green because of the space here. If you can address a lot of these small details, like spaces, font size, margins, indents, and if you can format your manuscript so that it is in line with your target journal, the reviewers will look at your manuscript with much more kindness than if you make a lot of small mistakes. Reviewers, editors hate these small mistakes. That's a big tip. So again, using the Show All Non-Printing Characters button really helps you to find these small mistakes. In your writing, do not use contractions. Contractions are okay in everyday talk, they're okay in informal writing, but in your scientific writing, in academic writing, you should not use contractions. So here are some, like don't, use do not, isn't, is not, etc., etc. Next is to define all abbreviations at first mention in the text. So here is a couple of sentences from a paper that I edited. Digital mucus cyst, DMC, and acquired digital fibrokeratoma, ADF, rarely arise in the finger. So the first time I use this, I put the abbreviation in parentheses, and then after that, I can just use the abbreviation. However, cases with DMC coexisting with ADF have never been reported. So, yeah, first mention in the text. This doesn't always work for the abstract. So in your abstract, probably they tell you not to use abbreviations unless you mention it more than 3 times. If you do use an abbreviation in the abstract, you should also use it in the main body of the text at first mention. Okay. So step 6 is something that I'd like to call coffee and listen. And you guys in Indonesia, you grow the best coffee. So what do I mean by this? Well, reading a manuscript can be boring sometimes and tiresome. So I highly recommend listening to your manuscript. So this is a website called Natural Readers. On this website, you can drop your manuscript onto the website or copy paste the text and press play, and it will read the text for you. You can choose the voice. Do you want a man or a woman, American or British? You can choose the speed, how fast. So you can enjoy a nice drink, all gone, and at the same time, listen to your paper. Now, listening to your paper, I think, is very useful because it helps you to perhaps notice mistakes, or especially it helps you to notice the flow of the paper. And when you're listening, I'd like you to focus on these things. Comprehension. Can you understand it? So as you're listening to your manuscript, can you understand it? Does it make sense? Flow. Now this is, I think, a lot of non-native speakers struggle with. But flow, does it transition well from sentence to sentence? That means, do the ideas flow well? Is it like driving a really nice car on a bumpy road as opposed to driving a really bad car on a bumpy road? And logic. Are the ideas, paragraphs, presented in a logical way? Make sure that everything is logical. The flow is logical. And impact. Can you get the key message? Now, this is sort of the same with a presentation. Your paper, your communication probably has one key message, maybe more than one, but you want to know that when the person has read the paper, that you are assured that that person will come away knowing the one key thing that you want them to take away. For example, if you're doing a drug trial, let's say you're trying a new drug, the key message would be, does it work or not? Yes or no? There shouldn't be any sort of gray area about the message that you're trying to give. So, does the reader have the impact? Do they get the key message? So, as you're drinking your coffee and listening to your paper, try to ask yourself these questions. Step 7, if you are a medical writer, I highly recommend purchasing this book or borrowing it from your library and never giving it back. This is one I keep on my desk. There's actually a new edition out that I'm going to buy. But this book is brilliant. It's full of page after page of how to write. All of the questions that you might have about how to write a title, for example, or how to display gene names, how to use commas, how to do citations properly. Everything is covered in this book. This is a really useful book for a writer and an editor. Especially if your target is medicine and medical journals. There is an online version as well that you can subscribe to. Step 8 is author guidelines. If you are writing for a specific target journal, you should spend a long time looking at the author guidelines. I cannot stress this enough. Again, it says, please read this section before submitting anything to Nature. Yeah. If you can follow, again, I said this earlier, if you can follow their guidelines, not just what to submit, but how to submit it and the format, what it looks like, the reviewers will be much, much happier with you and they will look at you much kinder. My next step would be let it rest. If you can give a week, for example, close your manuscript. Don't open it for 1 week. Just let it rest. Do something different. Go to Bali for 1 week. Spend 1 week on the beach. Or do something different. And then when you come back to it, it's almost like you've got some new glasses and you can see the problems with it. You can see the good points too, but you can also see the bad points. You can find the grammatical mistakes or the spelling mistakes or the repetition or the unnecessary parts. Letting it rest is really helpful. And finally, ask a friend. Lots of my friends, they know what I do for a living. They know that I edit a lot of papers. So many times they will ask me, can you help me with my dissertation, with my paper? I've helped many of my friends get their master's degrees and PhDs by helping them with their dissertations. Yeah, ask a friend to help you. Ask your colleagues to help you. A fresh pair of eyes on your manuscript can really help you to write something better. Okay, so I would like to, I think I would like to leave it there for today. I think I've spoken for quite a long time and would now like to open up for any questions that you might have. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Mayer. What a wonderful presentation. Now we enter the Q&A section. We already received some question in the chat Zoom. So I would like to share the question so Prof. Thomas can answer it. Okay, wait a second. Okay, the first question is from Dr. Rizka Putranti. Is there any software suggestion aside from Mendeley and not, because my office isn't compatible with that too? I'm using WPS, by the way. That's the question, Prof. Thomas.
Okay. The truthful answer is I don't know. I haven't really researched this question about other software. I'm sure that there must be other things available out there. Mendeley is a good one because it's free, and I'm sure it's available for Windows and for Macintosh. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm not sure about that. I hope so, for your sake. It does make life easier.
Okay, Professor, maybe Dr. Rizka can download for the Microsoft Word so it can compatible for Mendeley and not. Okay, the next question is from Rita Andini. What are the main usually challenge to kick the Q1 journal? Is there any tip from Prof. Mayer? Thank you. Yes, it's a big challenge to enter the Q1 journal.
So the main big challenge is actually the first thing is the novelty of what you're presenting. The first thing is the question or the topic that you're addressing. If you are able to present something, a hot topic or something new, that's great. So there's a number of factors, but one thing that can actually help you to get in a high impact factor journal. One thing that can help you is when they do a special edition, okay, and there's a call for papers. So often a journal, a high impact factor journal, might want to do a special edition on something related to what you are researching, or maybe somehow attached to what you are. You can make it relevant to what you are researching. In such a case, if there's ever a call for papers, you have a higher chance of getting in there if your topic matches up to that call. So obviously, the chances of matching up like that is not so high, but if you look around and search around, you might find such a call for papers. So signing up for notifications about that is helpful. As I said, editing your manuscript specific for that journal is very helpful. Okay, so if you can read the guidelines for authors, read lots of other papers within that journal that are on your topic, and try to write in a similar style, in the same way. That will help you to have good favor with the editors and the readers. So that's novelty. It's about matching. Call for papers is useful. It's about careful editing. And the next one is a little bit of a backdoor, but it's collaboration. Collaboration, if you can find somebody who is famous in the field, respected in the field, to collaborate with as a co-author, okay? I put that co-author because they might read it and give you a few comments. But if you can find somebody who's highly respected in the field, who is willing to join you as a co-author, that will also help to give credit to your manuscript. How do you do that? You can do that usually through contacting your professor or your friend and asking for contacts, or even reaching out to people, direct emailing them, professors at universities who are in a similar area of research. Trying to find good collaborators who will work with you. That can be very fruitful. So that are my top tips, but it's quite difficult.
Thank you, Prof. Meyer. So actually the back door is one of the important thing we can enter the Q1 journal, right, Prof? Okay, the next question from Ariantika. How if the method section week doesn't include all the research procedure because of the so many steps in there? Is it okay, Prof? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to tell people how to do a PCR. You don't have to describe the entire PCR project, right? Or how it's done. Because everybody knows. So the important thing is you only need to describe the basic steps and use references to the seminal research, right? So if you're following a procedure that was developed by such and such a professor and it's written elsewhere, you say we did such and such a test according to this editor, and you put the reference in, the citation for that test, that experiment, that methodology. You can say the details of this procedure are described elsewhere, plus a citation. The only thing really with methods, the only time you need to give very, very detailed is if you're describing a new method, a novel method that is new to you. In fact, these days, I've seen some research journals that do not follow IMRAD, and they have introduction, results, discussion, conclusion, methods. the methods come right at the end, because that's the methods. You would only really need to read it if you're interested in reproducing that or seeing that. So the methods also almost become like a reference. So yeah, you don't need to include every detail of how you did all the steps. Just you can use the main stepping stones. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Prof. So we don't have to include all the procedure. The main procedure with the citation is already enough, Prof. Thank you. The next question is from Nani Sari Murni. Is it true that the more specific the topic of a journal is, according to our research topic, the easier it will be to be accepted in that journal? So we have Mrs. Nani asking that we have to be really specific in according to the target journal that we want to enter. Is it true, Prof. Thomas?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that if you can find a journal that matches your topic perfectly, then that is probably the best place to publish. Maybe the impact factor isn't big, but the impact in the field is probably good. So let me just grab one. Let me show you. So my work is actually about medical English education in Japan, right? So I teach, amongst my teaching, I teach young Japanese doctors how to speak to patients in English, among many things. So if I do a research about medical English education, the best place for me to publish would be the Journal of Medical English Education. So this is very specific to my topic. What is the impact factor of this journal? 0. It doesn't have one. The only impact is if I hit myself with it. So it doesn't have an impact factor. But you know what? Actually, I don't care. Why? Because the people across the world who are specialized in my field get this. They read this one. So I don't think impact factor is everything. I think specificity is a really good idea. And also it makes it much easier for me to publish here because the match is perfect, okay? Now, let me show you another example. So this is Medical Teacher Journal. This is, I think, impact factor maybe 2.5 or something like this. This is not medical English. This is medical education. So it's a much bigger, much broader scope. This is going to be harder for me to publish in this one, okay? But this has the impact factor. So maybe I want to go for this one. Or maybe what I write about has more of a broad appeal. So maybe that's why I'm going to aim for this one. So actually, choice of journal is a really good question. And there are many factors. But to answer your question, I think it's yes. The more specialist it is, the easier it is to get published.
Thank you, Professor Mayer. The next question is from Mr. Muhammad Tukman. In the result, You mentioned to include negative result. Does it mean our result as the answer of negative result? This is if our result is positive. So maybe the conclusion is it important to include the negative result in the result of our manuscript? Thank you, Prof.
I like it. As an editor, when I read a paper, or even as a researcher, when I read a paper and the writer shares with me some negative results, it makes me appreciate them as being somebody very academically honest. Yeah. If you try something and it doesn't work, you fail, then you've tried it and it didn't work. Yeah. That's honest. Actually, most of us, if you're a scientist, probably 95% of the things you do fail. And then the small fraction where it actually works, that's when that's the good time, right? So that's really what I meant by that comment about don't be afraid to show negative results. It's about academic honesty. It's about showing that you tried something, it didn't work. Maybe you modified it. You tried it again, didn't work. You modified it, tried again, you found some good results. So that process is important. Now, it might be that in the end, a reviewer might say, you don't need that, you can take that out. But I think it's at an early stage when you submit a manuscript, don't be afraid to show negative results. I hope that answers your question, Mohammed.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Meyer. So the result is important, but the process is more important to write it in the manuscript so we can have a publication. So the next question is from Emma Rahmawati. If the research conducted a few years ago, let's say 4 years ago, is it still okay to make a manuscript for the research?
Well, my daughter is also called Emma. So thank you, Emma. I hope so. I hope so. And I'll tell you why I hope so is because last week I submitted a manuscript based on research questionnaire data that I gathered in 2016. So I hope that this is true. Yeah, I think it's okay. Obviously, it depends on what sort of data you're collecting. But if it's something that is unlikely to have changed in that time, then I think it's perfectly fine. So I guess it depends on the subject and the topic, what you're working with, and whether there has been big steps in that field in the time in between. But yeah, you can try. Yeah, you can try and you can submit.
Okay, so it's depend on the topic, right, Prof? Is it still on that or out of that, like that?
Yeah.
Okay, we will enter the next session. That's from Amirah Amalia. Good afternoon, Prof. Thomas Meyer. I would like to thank you for presenting an interesting lecture. If I may, I have a question to ask you. This day, we have the technology to check the plagiarism percentage of our research paper. To minimize the plagiarism percentage, we have to paraphrase the sentence. Other than paraphrasing the sentence, do you have any tips Any tips how to minimize the plagiarism percentage in writing a research paper? Thank you. Nah, that is about the plagiarism, Prof.
Yeah. So today I did not speak at all about the issue of plagiarism, but this is a big problem, and it's not just a problem for non-native speakers of English. Sometimes native speakers of English also plagiarize. In fact, there's some people write books that are plagiarized, and I was trying to think of some good examples of recent plagiarism, but yeah, basically you shouldn't plagiarize. You shouldn't get into the habit of copy paste. If you copy paste from somewhere else and then work in it, so you copy paste and then you change some words, still this basic sentence structure is the same as what you copy pasted. So I would say, please don't copy paste, first thing. But I know it can be difficult. And sometimes, in English, we have a lot of different ways to say things. That's why we say paraphrase something. But sometimes it can be very difficult to think of a better way to say a sentence than the one that you have found, right? Especially if it's a definition. It's very tempting just to copy paste a definition from a paper, or to copy it word for word, or change a few things. So to really address how to paraphrase would take a long time, as you suggested here. Tips on how to minimize plagiarism. I would say you can minimize plagiarism by, first of all, point one, trying to write everything yourself, no copy pasting. And second point is learn to combine ideas, different ideas that flow in the same sentence. Also learn how to switch things over. How to use a comma. So usually a sentence has two clauses. So learn how to move the end clause to the beginning of a sentence and the beginning clause at the end of the sentence. Yeah, that to address this question fully would take a long time. Maybe the best tip is don't copy paste.
Okay, thank you, Prof. The next question from Ira Wahyuni. What should we do if the writer gets stuck in writing a research paper? Let's say in the middle of analysis part. What should we do?
Okay, so everybody gets stuck. Don't worry. Everybody gets stuck. My number one tip would be to go and buy the maltabak, especially like a chocolate Nutella maltabak. And so when you eat it, you get lots of sugar and power. Wake up your brain. Or some delicious food. Yeah, don't worry about it. Everybody gets stuck. this is a good time to ask for help. This is a good time to call on co-authors. If you have a co-author, tell them, I'm having trouble with the analysis. Could you help me? Could you look at this data? It's a good time to call up your favorite professor. Hey, can you help me? It's a good time to ask people for help. If you are stuck, reach out your hand and ask your friend to pull you out the mud. And the whole process of academic research is easier if you can surround yourself with people who are like-minded and want to help you. And when the time comes, you help them. They help you here, you help them. For example, I will be very honest with you. I am terrible at mathematics. It was my hardest subject in school. So if ever I have to deal with statistics, do I do it myself? No. I bring in a statistician to help me. Likewise, maybe analysis of data isn't your strong point. Try to find someone, a colleague who is good at that. And you can help them when they need help with something, you can help them. And then it becomes a good working relationship. And these days, you can actually extend your network outside of Indonesia, and you can reach out to colleagues all across the world. And being involved in academic society is one helpful way to meet people and collaborators. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Prof. So is it important for us to have a discussion with others when we are stuck? Yeah, Dr. Wawang?
Yeah.
No. I just say stuck on you. Is this?
Okay, the next question is from Naufal Arif Ismail. Thank you for your great presentation, Prof. Mayer, but I want to ask you a question. Is grammar checking enough to use Grammarly or proofreading, or should I use academic proofreading service in journal publisher? Thank you. Pro-writing
Pro-writing aid, I think that is.
Pro-writing aid.
So my experience actually with Indonesian writers is that the quality of the writing by Indonesian students is usually very good in English. I think the grammatical structure of Bahasa and English are quite similar. And so I've always been impressed by the writing of Indonesian students. But even as a native speaker, I would always ask my colleague to help me with my writing. It's always helpful to get somebody's input. Academic proofreading can be good, but sometimes can be terrible. Terrible. If you send your paper to a very cheap proofreader, that it can come back worse than when you sent it. My colleague, for example, he sent one manuscript and the editor returned it with more mistakes than when he sent it. A lot of these editing companies actually use India. So I'm not making any comment about Indian proofreaders, but it might be very difficult, especially with technical words, and specific medical terms for an editor to get the correct understanding of the content. So, proofreading services are good. That's kind of what I do. I do it for my colleagues here at the university. But you have to find somebody that you can trust and who knows what they're writing about. And also, more important than that, if you can find a collaborator who is a good writer, a good, and I would say a native English speaker, a very confident writer, somebody in your field who can help you by reading and correcting the manuscript, maybe you have to, again, this isn't strict, but maybe you have to include them as a co-author. At the very least, you have to give them some sort of acknowledgement. But that can be some way, particularly at the beginning for a young researcher, that can be a good way to sort of make sure that your manuscript is of publication quality. Finding a good collaborator who can help you with the writing.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Mayer. Based on my experience, if we looking for a proofreader, but he or she not in our field, it will be horrible. So it's important to find a proofreader with that understand our field that we write, the topic that we write. Okay, the next question. Maybe we, because the limitation of time, we can answer the last 3 questions.
Okay.
Yes. The next question is from Lisa. Prof. Mayer, how to write the good manuscript if the result was negative? It's almost similar. For example, there was no significant correlation between variables. How to make interesting publication for this research? Nah, this actually similar with the question before, but it's the highlight is different. How to make an interesting publication from from the negative result?
Yeah, so I think writing and presenting is all about telling a story. And most stories in the world are about finding a problem and trying to overcome that problem. Okay, so as in science, when you're researching something, you're looking for the answer to a question. It's a quest. It's like looking for gold or looking for a beautiful jewel, right? And the journey is always interesting. So that's what I want to stress. The journey, the search is always interesting if you can tell it in an interesting way. So your introduction isn't affected, right? Your introduction, you talk about the problem, you talk about the topic, why it's important. You state what the problem, you state what we know about this, what we don't know. And then your hypothesis, right? So that's the same. Then you describe how you're going to address that question, your experimental methodology. Whether it works or it doesn't work is still a result, yeah? So let's say you try something and it doesn't work. That is still worthy of publishing, I believe. And the key point is not to show the end. All right, that didn't work. Oh, well, bad luck. The key point to make negative data appealing is to open the window and show what you are going to do in the future to try to address it, to try to solve the problem. Okay, so you can hypothesize, you can speculate about where you might have gone wrong. Actually, in your discussion, you can discuss what you learned from the negative data. Why didn't it work? What can we learn from that? There must be a reason. If you try something and it doesn't work, why didn't it work? Maybe that in itself is a finding. So again, it depends on the topic, but you can always make a story interesting, even if it doesn't have a happy ending.
Thank you, Prof. Mayer. So the negative result is not the end of everything, right, Prof. Mayer?
No.
We still can do a publication, a great publication. The next session, the 3 last question before we end the session. Wait a minute. From Anwari Delmi, thank you for such enlightening lecture, Professor. This question might be trivial. Pardon me, what is the right principle of citing other authors' scientific paper? Do you cite the paper a journal is citing, or do you cite the journal that express the citation? It's kind of interesting. Is it a must that we have to citing the journal that publicating in our target journal?
Right, I'm looking at the question on my other screen here. That's why I'm reading the question.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure that I fully understand the question. Do you cite the paper journals?
Like maybe we want to submit in the Journal of Nature, so we cite the journal from Nature.
No.
Not must.
No. You cite the most relevant research wherever that is. In fact, if you only cited one journal, that would be strange and probably rejected. The citations, if you read the guidelines for authors, it will give you information about citations. Okay, so go to the journal website, look at the guidelines for authors, find the section on citations, and it will show you how to cite. Also, the Manual of Style, this also has a section on citation. Your citations should be the most pertinent, the best citations for the information in your article, wherever they come from.
Okay, thank you, Professor.
The point of this question is, what if I read something, a publication or a sentence from Mr. X, and Mr. X is citing someone else?
Oh,
Should I cite? I think that's a point.
I see. Okay, I understand now. So yeah, so what if you read what if you have a citation and you got that from somewhere, from some other, in that case, I recommend actually including both citations. So in a scientific journal, usually we just have the numbers in the text, and the numbers refer to a list of references at the end. So in which case you can include both citations. The one by Professor X and the original citation by Professor Z, and you can include both of them. If that's too cumbersome, if it's in text, I would say go for the one that is the seminal one, and that by that I mean the original thought about that, or the latest, the most up to date in the highest impact factor. So be selective. You know, if you're citing very low impact factor papers, it's maybe not so good. But if you can cite seminal high impact factor journals, that makes your paper look a bit better, I think.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Mayer. So we are already entering the end of this session.
Okay.
So I would like to conclude the lecture. Writing and editing manuscript is not as difficult as we have ever imagined. If we know the tips and trick that has been Prof. Thomas presented to us, so from now on, we can start to write the good manuscript and make an awesome publication. Because you cannot do a great publication without writing a good manuscript, even if you have a good research. Thank you. I would like to give back this session to MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Zahra. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our webinar today about how to write and edit a research manuscript. I would like to thank our moderator, Dr. Zahra Nurosova, in our highest gratitude to our speakers, Professor Thomas Myers. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and it's a very interesting topic you have there today. I hope all your suggestions, tips, and tricks you have shared to us today can encourage all of our participants, including me. Thank you for all the committee of this event in UHAMKA, especially for all the faculty members in medical faculty. The last but not least, thank you for all participants who has joined us today in this webinar. But before I close this event, I want to have a for the session of our session today, I would like to invite you to open your camera. There is.
Thank you, Professor Thomas.
There are 5 pages here in my screen.
Someday I would like to join you to play a guitar. Yeah.
Okay, I will start to capture the picture. Let's start with the first page. Wait. Okay. First page, 1, 2, 3. Okay. The next one, please smile. 1, 2, 3. The next one. Oh, the next one. Wait. 1, 2, 3. The fourth page. 1, 2, 3. And the last one. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Before I close this event, I would like to invite you once again to send your manuscript to our journal, Sanus Medical Journal. We are welcome your manuscript to publish in our journal in the next edition in February or in August. And lastly, I would like to remind you to fill the attendance list form that we have sent the link to this chat room. Then the certificate and the material of this lecture will be given by email several days later. Only if you have filled the link. Thank you for joining us. We are looking forward to meet you again in our next webinar. Thank you very much. Akhir kalam. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam, Professor Mayers.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Prof.
And see you in next lecture.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih.
Iya,
Masta.
Thank you, Dr. Iwang. Dr.
Yeah,
Wawan.
yeah. What kind of music do you like?
Oh, me, I like rock, blues, jazz.
Yeah. Listen with me. Listen with me. We can make a collaboration to play music if you come here to Jakarta.
Definitely.
After the COVID is gone, we wait for you.
And take a jam together.
Okay, I have to go.
Thanks.
So, I look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you very much, Professor Thomas.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Wang Wang. Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum
See you,
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Prof.
Terima kasih untuk semuanya.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih, Dok.
Terima kasih
Kasih,
semuanya yang
Dok.
sudah hadir hari ini.
Terima kasih,
Terima
Dok.
kasih, Mbak
Izin
Vicky.
live. Ya. Terima kasih semuanya. Dr. Sarah, Dr. Irena, Kiki.
Ingin submit jurnalnya ke Sanus Medical Journal untuk next edition in February and August.
Ya, silakan.
Silakan.